Now let's talk about the different levels of participation with the cash tracking system. Now this is not to be confused with levels as they pertain to multi-level marketing. These are simply different options for people to participate in our program. Now, as you know, there are 3 different levels of participation here: $500, $1,000, and $2,000. Accordingly, this creates 3 different potential entry options. People can begin at the $500 level, which of course is the lowest level of participation. Starting at the $1,500 level simply adds the $500 and the $1,000 together. And the $3,500 level adds all 3 amounts, $500, $1,000, and $2,000. That's the top level. Now, when people are considering which option would best suit them, well, that's typically dictated by 3 things. First, how much cash they want to receive. Second, the financial resources that are available to them. And third, their tolerance for risk. Now, let's review each of these. Let's talk about that first one, how much cash they want to receive. Now remember, you can only receive cash at the level that you are participating at. Well, this one becomes a no-brainer. Everybody wants to receive $3,500. Now how about that second item, the financial resources available to them? This one's a little bit more puzzling. Now, many people that I initially thought would not be in a position to enter at the $3,500 level, even though they really wanted to, well, they surprised me by arranging the funding almost immediately. Statistically, 90% of the people who join do enter at the $3,500 level. And here's the reason for this, and I want to make sure this point is crystal clear. Remember, the fundamental rule with the cash tracking system is that no one can receive any cash, nor can they benefit from anything, such as receiving a qualifier, at any level that they are not participating at. That means if someone enters at the $1,500 level, for example, and the first person who joins through their invitation wants to enter at the $3,500 level, well, they'll get qualified at the $500 and the $1,000 levels, but not at the $2,000 level, simply because they are not yet participating at that level, so they're not eligible to receive that qualifier. If they then invite another person who joins at the $3,500 level, they would receive the $1,500, but again, not the $2,000, nor would they have that person count as a qualifier for them at the $2,000 level. It is only when they decide to join the $2,000 level and they have made that pledge at that level can they receive benefit from anybody joining at that level. It's very consistent, very fair, and it's equal for everyone. Now, this is the process that we call roll-up. So let's just review your understanding of that concept, and I'd like to use a real-life example of specifically how roll-up occurs. James in Ohio is one of my people who joined at the $500 level. In his first month, James had 5 new people join in this order: $3,500, $500, $3,500, $1,500, and $3,500. All of that cash in excess of $500 after the first pledge rolled up to me. Now, had James joined at the $3,500 level, after the first pledge, everything would have gone to him. Boy, that's a lot of cash he missed. But actually, it's much worse than it looks. The last 3 people are also on my $1,000 and $2,000 receiving lines instead of his. And they have produced significant additional cash for me from their qualifiers, which again could have gone to James had he joined at $3,500. Now, this could inevitably turn out to be $40,000, $60,000 or more that'll end up going to me that would have gone to James had he simply entered at the $3,500 level. Now, ask yourself this question. Would it have been worth it for James to go outside of his comfort zone and really get creative to find the extra $3,000 to join at the $3,500 level? You bet it would. And in this day and age, that isn't terribly difficult for most people to do if they really want to. and there are literally thousands of stories like this one. You see, once people fully understand this concept, it's amazing how creative they can become to find the necessary funding. They've used cash advances from their credit cards, they've borrowed from a bank or from friends or family, they've cashed in investments, they've sold things they no longer needed, they've borrowed from their pension funds, etc. I even had one lady who actually borrowed the money from her ex-husband. She told him that once she got this activity going, he could stop sending her those monthly support payments. I think he broke the land speed record in getting over to her house with his checkbook. You see, when it comes to finding the funding, you're only limited by your creativity. Now, for me personally, I wasn't about to let $3,500 stand between me and the tens of thousands of dollars I knew I could receive every month using this remarkable system. Now let's talk about that third item, their tolerance for risk. This is another interesting matter, which was the key to my joining immediately at the $3,500 level. Now, my tolerance for risk is much lower these days since I'm actually approaching retirement age. But when I really did a thorough risk-reward analysis of this opportunity, it became immediately apparent that the risk here was extremely low. When I looked around and saw all of the average people that were receiving tons of cash here, most of them with no special skills or experience, I thought about, what's the worst thing that can happen to me? Well, from a practical standpoint, I felt very confident that with this system that's in place, I could certainly get my qualifier without too much difficulty, and perhaps one or two members to generate some cash and get some of those receiving lines going. If I then didn't like it for any reason, I'd be a little cash ahead, and I'd just go do something else, and perhaps still receive some cash in the future from those receiving lines. You see, the risk was so low, but the potential upside was so high, I just had to do it. And the rest, as they say, is history. I've been enjoying this remarkable program since the spring of 2004, and I intend to continue to do so for the rest of my working life. And the entry option was obvious for me as well. There was no chance that I was willing to leave any cash on the table, so I entered at the $3,500 level. Since then, I've become totally debt-free, and we now pay cash for everything. I work only 14 hours or so a week, and I have all the time I want to spend with my family. You know, I really think the driving force behind my success and that of my group here is the lead generation systems we have in place. Using these resources, I always have plenty of people to talk to, and this requires absolutely none of my personal effort to find these people. We then simply spend a few minutes on the phone together, which in most cases leads to them reviewing this website in detail. I let the presentations on this site do the explaining for me, and people simply decide whether this makes sense for them or not. No convincing or beating anybody into submission to do anything. It's really a very gentle process that can be done by absolutely anyone. I hope you've enjoyed the time we shared together today, and I truly hope we have the privilege of welcoming you as a new member with the cash tracking system. Remember, thinking about doing something accomplishes absolutely nothing. It's only by taking action, and taking action right now, that you can change your financial situation. So your action step right now is to proceed to step 5, where you'll learn what makes this remarkable program so successful. Just click the link at the bottom of this page to begin that presentation.